The afternoon sun streamed through the large windows of the cozy cafe, casting warm golden light across the wooden tables and comfortable chairs. James Martinez adjusted his simple white button-down shirt and glanced at his watch. He had arrived 15 minutes early, partly from nervousness and partly from habit. As the CEO of a major tech company, punctuality was second nature to him. But today, he wasn't CEO James Martinez. Today, he was just James, a single father trying to make ends meet. His twin daughters, Emma and Sophie, sat beside him in their matching pink dresses, their blonde hair catching the sunlight. At 4 years old, they were his entire world, the reason he worked so hard, and the reason he had become so guarded about letting people into their lives. "Daddy, is the nice lady coming soon?" Emma asked, swinging her legs from the tall cafe chair. "Yes, sweetheart. Her name is Sarah, and I want you both to be on your best behavior," James replied softly, smoothing down Sophie's hair. The truth was, James had been alone for 3 years now. After his wife passed away when the twins were barely a year old, he had thrown himself into work and raising his daughters. Friends and family had been trying to set him up for months, but James had always found excuses. He was too busy, too focused on the girls, too afraid of letting someone new into their carefully constructed world. But loneliness had a way of creeping in during quiet moments. When the girls were asleep and the house felt too empty. When he watched other families at the park, complete with mothers who laughed and played alongside their children. When he realized that Emma and Sophie asked about having a mommy more often than he cared to admit. His sister Maria had been particularly persistent about this blind date. She worked with Sarah at the local elementary school and insisted they would be perfect for each other. "She's kind, James. Really kind. And she loves children. Just give it a chance," Maria had pleaded. So here he was, but with one significant omission in the story Maria had told Sarah. She believed James was a struggling single father, working multiple jobs to support his twins. She didn't know about the penthouse apartment, the fleet of luxury cars, or the multi-million-dollar company that bore his name. James had asked Maria to keep those details private, and she had reluctantly agreed. It wasn't that James was ashamed of his success. But he had learned, through painful experience, that money changed how people saw him. Some women were attracted to his wealth rather than to him as a person. Others felt intimidated or assumed he wouldn't understand their everyday struggles. He wanted someone to see him, really see him, without the filter of dollar signs clouding their judgment. The cafe door chimed softly, and James looked up to see a woman with shoulder-length brown hair scanning the room. She wore a simple mint green dress and carried herself with quiet confidence. When their eyes met, she smiled, and James felt something stir in his chest that he hadn't experienced in years. "James," she asked as she approached their table. "That's me," he said, standing to shake her hand. "And these are my daughters, Emma and Sophie." Sarah knelt down to the girls' level immediately. "Hello, Emma and Sophie. I'm Sarah. I brought something for you both." She reached into her purse and pulled out 2 small coloring books and a pack of crayons. "I hope you like to color." The twins' faces lit up with delight. "Thank you, Miss Sarah," they said in unison, already reaching for the books. As Sarah settled into her chair, James found himself studying her face. There was something genuine in her expression, a warmth that seemed to reach her eyes when she looked at his daughters. "So, Maria tells me you work a few different jobs," Sarah said, her voice gentle and without judgment. "That must be exhausting with 2 little ones to care for." James felt a pang of guilt at the deception but pressed on. "It keeps me busy, but they're worth it," he said, gesturing toward the twins. "What about you? Maria mentioned you're a teacher." "3rd grade," Sarah nodded, watching as Emma carefully colored inside the lines of a butterfly. "I love it. There's something magical about that age. They're still excited about learning everything." As they talked, James found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't in months. Sarah asked thoughtful questions about the girls, shared funny stories from her classroom, and seemed genuinely interested in their conversation. She didn't check her phone once, didn't glance around the cafe looking for someone more interesting. Her attention was fully present. When Sophie accidentally knocked over her juice cup, Sarah was quick to help clean up the mess without making the little girl feel embarrassed. When Emma shyly asked if Sarah would help her color a flower, she immediately scooted her chair closer and began offering gentle suggestions about which colors might work well together. You're really good with them, James observed, watching Sarah help Sophie sound out the letters in her name as she wrote it at the top of her coloring page. I love children, Sarah replied simply. They see the world so clearly, you know. They don't worry about pretenses or what people think. They just are. Her words hit James more deeply than she could have known. Here he was, wrapped up in pretenses, worried about what she might think if she knew the truth about his financial situation. As the afternoon wore on, James found himself falling into easy conversation with Sarah. She told him about her small apartment, how she spent weekends volunteering at the animal shelter, and her dream of maybe opening her own tutoring center someday. She spoke about money the way most people did, as something that was always a consideration, something that required careful planning and budgeting. I've been saving up for a car, she mentioned casually. Mine finally gave up last month, and I've been taking the bus everywhere. It's actually kind of nice, having time to read during my commute, but it'll be good to have my independence back. James felt another stab of guilt. He could easily buy her any car she wanted without thinking twice about the cost. But more than that, he found himself admiring her resilience, her ability to find silver linings in inconvenient situations. The twins were getting restless as the hour grew later, and James knew it was time to wrap up their meeting. As they prepared to leave, Sarah knelt down again to say goodbye to Emma and Sophie. Thank you for sharing your coloring time with me, she told them seriously. You both are wonderful artists. Will we see you again, Miss Sarah? Emma asked, her small hand tugging on Sarah's dress. Sarah glanced up at James, a question in her eyes. I hope so, sweetheart. That's up to your daddy. Walking to the parking lot, James felt torn. He had enjoyed the afternoon more than he had expected, but the weight of his deception sat heavily on his shoulders. Sarah walked beside them toward the bus stop, chatting easily with the girls about their favorite colors and animals. When they reached the corner where Sarah would catch her bus, James made a decision that surprised even him. Sarah, he said, his voice slightly unsteady. There's something I need to tell you. Something important. She turned to face him, her expression open and trusting. The twins were distracted, chasing a butterfly that had landed nearby. I haven't been completely honest with you, James continued, his heart racing. About my situation. About who I am. Sarah's smile faltered slightly, concern replacing the warmth in her eyes. What do you mean? James took a deep breath. He thought about all the women who had pursued him for his money, all the relationships that had felt hollow and transactional. Then he looked at Sarah, who had spent the afternoon genuinely caring about his daughters, who had cleaned up spilled juice without hesitation, who had made Emma and Sophie feel special and seen. I'm not struggling financially, he said quietly. I do very well. I own a company. I didn't tell you because I wanted to see if you could like me, the real me, without all of that other stuff getting in the way. Sarah was quiet for a long moment, processing his words. James held his breath, waiting for anger or disappointment or the calculating look he had seen in other women's eyes when they learned about his wealth. Instead, Sarah's expression remained thoughtful. So you lied to me, she said finally. Yes, James admitted. And I'm sorry. I know it was wrong, but you were protecting yourself, Sarah finished. And protecting them. She glanced at Emma and Sophie, who were now picking dandelions from a crack in the sidewalk. I can understand that, James. Being a parent means making hard choices sometimes. James felt a rush of relief, but Sarah wasn't finished. However, she continued, if we're going to see each other again, and I hope we are, we need to start with honesty. Complete honesty. Your daughters deserve that, and so do I. James nodded, feeling lighter than he had in years. You're right. Absolutely right. And Sarah. He paused, meeting her eyes. I would love to see you again. All of us would. Sarah smiled then, the same warm smile that had caught his attention when she first walked into the cafe. I'd like that too. But next time, no pretenses. Just James, Emma, Sophie, and Sarah. Deal. Deal, James agreed, extending his hand for her to shake. As Sarah's bus arrived and she waved goodbye to the three of them, James felt something he hadn't experienced in a very long time, hope. Not just for himself, but for the possibility of building something real with someone who had seen past his walls to the father and man he truly was. Walking back to his car with the twins chattering excitedly about their new friend, James realized that sometimes the most valuable things in life couldn't be bought. They had to be earned through honesty, vulnerability, and the courage to let someone see you exactly as you are.